Hi everyone, welcome to another video of Codesys tutorial. Today I'm going to talk about enumeration in Codesys. What's an enumeration and how to use it in your program. Enumeration is a user-defined data type to assign names to integral constants. Let me explain this with an example. We normally use variables and assign them numbers like here for different values. Here I have declared an integer variable weekdays, and according to the current day, a number is assigned and a string variable will show which day is today. You see, I've used several if statements, which makes our program have more lines of code. Or sometimes we use case statement and we use numbers to define different cases. If the number of cases is too many, we have to write a comment not to forget the task of each case. Imagine we could use names rather than numbers. It would increase the readability of our program and it's easier to understand what we have done in the program. In this case, we can use enumeration. An enum is a technique for adding some kind of meaning to numbers. With an enum, we assign some name to an integer constant. These names will be globally known in the project and we can use them in the entire project. Let's see how we can use enumeration to make our codes in Codesys simple. Like a structure, we declare an enumeration from the application add object dut. I name it enum select day, select enumeration. If you check this box, a localization of the enumeration component and a representation of the symbolic component value in a text output in the visualization will be enabled. We don't need it right now, so I don't activate it. A window for the declaration of the enum will be opened. The syntax of an enum is as follows. On top you see two attributes, qualified only and strict. These attributes I will explain during the programming with an example. Between the parentheses, we can start our enumerations. Enum numbers is just the preset component and we can delete it. Enums will be separated with commas. Monday, Thursday, Wednesday, and so on. An enum can have any number of members but needs to have at least two components. Our enumeration is ready to use. Go to the main program. Declare a variable of type our enum. Start the simulation. As you see, we have declared a variable of enum that can have different values of these components, which are days. Now we can use it in our program. To access the components of an enumeration, we need to write enum names with a point. Like structures and arrays, Codesys will automatically show you all the components. I'm going to write a string value today is Monday if the component Monday is activated. Let's create a string variable. Now we could replace the numbers with names. It's good, but for the other days, we need to complete our code and repeat this if statement. Again, our code is a little bit long. Let's see what we can do to write our program with fewer and shorter code lines. Open the enumeration. We have two attributes here. Let's add another one, a magic one. Attribute to string. With this attribute, the name of the enumeration component appears as a string instead of the numerical value. I'm going to comment out all these lines. Write the output with assignment. Use toString operator. And write the enumeration name inside the parentheses. Let's see the changes. Select the day from the prepared value. You see now the name of the day comes directly from the enum, and we don't need to declare each time for each day a string variable. If you need to have exactly this string at the output, use the concat function. That's it. Now with just one line and using enumeration, we could rewrite this program to display the days. That was a simple example to show how enumeration works. Now I'm going to show you why I used another attribute in enumeration. If you wish to use the textual identifier of an enumeration component, for example, to process it further in a text output, add the attribute to a string above the declaration of the enumeration. The name of the enumeration component will then be returned. Let's comment it to understand better how it works. As you see, in this case, our enumeration returns just the integral values, so we use toString attribute. Most of the time, enumeration is used with case statements in Codesys. Case, our variable of type enum. Write the enumeration and select one of the components. Let's create an integer variable. Now, if the case en weekdays is equal to this component Monday, the I var will be incremented by 1 with each cycle. We can also add more cases. Let's say if the weekday is Friday, make the I var 0. I changed the enum value and the I var is now stopped to be incremented. With Friday, it is 0. Now let's talk about the first attribute. The effect of this pragma is that variables are only addressed by specifying the enumeration name and can be helpful in avoiding being mistaken for local variables. Comment this attribute. Instead of enum select day, Monday, now we can use just Monday. But in this case, we cannot declare a variable with this name. If we do this, Codesys will take this local variable instead of our enumeration component. I'm going to declare a variable with the name Monday. Monday has an integer value of 10, but it should be 0. because Codesys took this variable, not this one from the enum. If I use this attribute again and delete this variable in my code, you see Monday is now unknown for Codesys. Okay, what's the second attribute? According to the Codesys help, this attribute will activate some programming rules. For example, assignment of a constant value which does not correspond to an enumeration value to an enumeration component is not allowed. In our program, we have integral value 0 to 6, so we are not allowed to assign 7 to our enumeration. Let's assign a value to our enumeration in the program. Here I assigned the value 6, so even if I change the enum value, it will remain Sunday because Sunday has an integer value of 6. Now let's change it to 7. As you see, it's not allowed. But if we comment this attribute, now we can do it. But it's not recommended to comment these attributes. If you delete them, you may have some problems like data overlapping. I just wanted to show you why we use these attributes. The next point about enumeration is that the values are automatically initialized starting at 0. Monday is 0, Wednesday 2, and so on. The values for the elements are continuously incremented by 1. But we can also assign fixed values to the members. For example, we can assign 8 to Saturday. In this case, Sunday will be 9. I'm going to comment out this attribute to see the integer values. Saturday should be 8 and Sunday 9. We can even initialize the components with different values. Be careful, it's not possible to give two components the same value. All the days have a value according to what we have defined. If you need to use different values for each component, you can use this method. Important is that if you look at the initial value of the enum, when I make a change and download them, it's always Monday. Make a reset. You see it starts always on Monday. Since no component for the initialization is specified in the enumeration declaration, initialization automatically takes place with the component that has the value 0. This is normally the first of the enumeration components. This can also be another component that's not in the first place, but is explicitly initialized with 0. Let's assign 0 to another component. Now Thursday must be the initial value. If an enumeration contains a value of 0, then this value is the standard initialization. If we don't use 0 for any component, then the first component in the list will be the initial value. Another way to initialize an enum is doing like other variables and initialize them when we want to declare them. Now Wednesday is the initial value. The last thing about an enum is the data type. The data type of an enumeration is integer by default. It means we can assign a value to the members in this range. If you want, you can define the enum with your desired data type. The possible data types are as follows. Let's declare, for example, with short integer. Alternatively, we can also specify here the initial value. Now the initial value is Saturday. Even Thursday has the value of 0. Alright, in this video we talked about enumeration in Codesys. They make for clearer and more readable code, particularly when meaningful names are used. If you have any questions about enum, feel free to ask in comments. See you next video. Bye.